So welcome back to another rebuild here on NBA 2K25 Next Gen. In today's video, we are back with another episode of our Lebron Era rebuild series, and today it's going to be the Minnesota Timberwolves. To say these were some dark times in Minnesota would be the understatement of the century. This team was god-awful. They won only 17 games. They really didn't have a lot to look forward to outside of Kevin Love, and then the cherry on top of it is that they screwed up the draft. They had the number 2 overall pick in the 2011 NBA draft. They drafted Derek Williams, and yeah, we're all pretty aware of how that one ended up working out. And then a few years later, they sent Kevin Love off to the Cleveland Cavaliers, of course, getting Andrew Wiggins in return. And, from there, this team's still looking for that championship. So hopefully today, I'm able to find it and get it for them. And as always, let me know any other video ideas down below in the comment section. Of course, always open to what you guys are really looking to see. I got a couple of requests to do the Timberwolves, and that, of course, is why we are here doing them today. So whether it's the LeBron era rebuilds, the off-season rebuilds, challenges, whatever it is you guys are looking to see, let me hear it all down below in the comment section. But I certainly have my work cut out for me here today. We're going to discuss this roster momentarily, and yeah, it's not very good. So let's get into it. As we touched on a bit in the intro, this team won only 17 games. Now, I will let you know in advance that there are a couple players that were actually on this team that are not here in 2K. That being said, for a team that won 17 games, I'm not really going to cry home about it because they probably weren't going to be here very long anyways. Let's go ahead and discuss this roster. Let's see what we are working with. Again, this is a team led by Kevin Love, which I believe he did win Most Improved Player this season. I think he was around 20 points a game. So, he obviously is one of the bright spots on this squad. There are not a lot of them, so got to kind of give and take in what we can kind of get here. So, position by position, Luke Ridnour is here. He's 29 years old. I don't hate the contract. The overall is obviously pretty solid. I just don't know if he's going to be a 3-year starter for me and on a, hopefully, eventual championship team. So, again, quality role player for us, though. Sebastian Telfair is here. He's 25, 1-year contract at a 72 overall. Maybe there's a little room for growth because he is only 25, but I'm not going to hold my breath about that one. Now, the shooting guard spot. Corey Brewer is here. You got Maurice Agger here as well. Again, these are okay players. Corey Brewer especially is a nice quality contributor as a role player, but he's not a starting shooting guard on this team long term. So we'll figure out what we're going to do there. The small forward spot, Michael Beasley, who was actually the second leading scorer on this team, had a really strong season with this group. Again, can't really take it for too much, though. They only won 17 games. So, he's 23 years old. He's already an 80 overall, which is pretty good news. Now, will he be starting for me the entire video? The likely answer to that is probably no, but I'll give him a shot. And then behind him, we have 3 players who are not real. Nothing pisses me off more than 2K, not only putting fake players on the roster, but then giving them preposterous contracts. Drives me absolutely fucking crazy. Now, the power forward spot, of course, we talked about Kevin Love a little bit. If you don't, remember Kevin Love in Minnesota, or you never got to really watch him, go back, watch some highlights. This dude was an absolute monster. He was absolutely cleaning up on the glass. He could score the ball at ease, and he really just doesn't get enough credit for his time in Minnesota, because obviously the majority of his career is remembered as kind of LeBron and Kyrie, I don't want to say sidekick, but kind of the third option in Cleveland. While he was a really good player in Cleveland, I'm certainly not denying that, he was very, very special in Minnesota. Now, behind him, we have a 25-year-old Anthony Tolliver. Certainly not a bad option at the backup power forward spot. Again, in a low 70 overall. Maybe we look to improve if that overall does not jump quite a bit. And then the center spot, which I would say is, pretty easily our worst position. Darko Milicic. I don't really have too much to say. He's Darko. He was the second overall pick in 2003, and we, of course, know how the rest of that draft class worked out. So, yeah, that's the squad. We obviously have some work to do here. We're not going to be a good team in year one. Now, what I do want to make sure is that we have our draft pick here. Fuck. Great. Now, I'm not sure what the protections are on it, but the team in real life won 17 games, and they had the number 2 overall pick, which was their own. So I am going to find out who has our draft pick. I will do a little bit of research and see what the protections are on it, but it's top 10 protected from the Clippers. No idea what trade that dates back to. I can barely remember the ones that are protected, up in the NBA now, and it's 2025. So we're 15 years in the past at this point. So it's top 10 protected. I can almost guarantee you that we will be in the bottom 10 or, well, top 10, depending how you really look at it. But I definitely have a few trades before we kick off year one. We need somebody to be the backup small forward behind Michael Beasley, and we're going to acquire Michael Petrus here from the Orlando Magic. Now, Sebastian Telfair was our one and only backup point guard, but he'll just have to move on. We'll find somebody else. Petrus has an option, or a player option, after this season for $5.3 million. Whether he accepts that or not is obviously very much up in the air, but for 1 year as a placeholder, it's not too bad. Next up, we will be acquiring Keon Dooling here in a deal with the Milwaukee Bucks. We are sending out Mo Agar, who was our one and only backup shooting guard, but unfortunately he is expiring, whereas you can see Dooling does have the 2 years of team control. So again, this isn't some sort of superstar trade. That's not exactly what I'm going for here. As we enter year number 1, it's all about getting players that are on, affordable and team-friendly contracts. So welcome to the team, Keon Dooling. I am assuming that Brad Miller will likely retire after one season, but unfortunately at this point we are in desperate need of finding real players. We are trading 2 guys who are not even real people, in Todd Smith and Oscar Garrett. They are going to Houston, and in return we're getting Brad Miller. So I'm assuming Miller will likely retire after this season. If my memory serves me correctly, he tends to do that. If not, he'll be a multi-year contract that is certainly tradable. And again, at least he is a real player. So we're kind of out of real players to trade at this point. It's going to be Darko and Miller here. It's going to be Kevin Love and Tolliver. It's going to be Beasley and Petrus. And then I do need to find a backup here behind Corey Brewer. Now, Corey Brewer is also expiring after this season. So if I'm being completely honest with you, I did try to consider a few different trade options, but just really wasn't in love with any of them. So we're going to hang on to Brewer again. Will be kind of our one big free agent, if you will, heading into the offseason, but we will find a backup now behind him. So it'll be some sort of free agent. I have no idea who it is going to be. Danny Green's sitting here in free agency. I'll give Danny Green a 2-year contract. Sure. Welcome to the team. All right, let's set that rotation. It is go time for year 1 here in Minnesota. Of course, our kind of big, lofty goal is to be as bad as humanly possible. I need to make sure I have my pick, and again, it is top 10 protected from the Los Angeles Clippers. Here's how things shook out. Probably no major surprises in the starting 5. Luke Ridnour, Corey Brewer, Michael Beasley, Kevin Love, who is playing 36 minutes a night. I just am playing him as much as I possibly can because I do think his development is going to be a really key thing in this video for us. And then the GOAT, Darko Milicic, here at the center spot. Michael Petrus will lead our bench unit. He's going to be our 6th man. You got Brad Miller behind him. You got Keon Dooling in here, Anthony Tolliver, and newly acquired Danny Green rounding out the rotation. So, yeah, it's obviously not a long-term solution. This team is almost 100% going to be really bad, and hopefully we hit on a really, really good draft pick at the end of year number 1. Somehow, some way, this team actually won a few more games than they did in real life. Now, it's only 20 wins. It's not some sort of crazy jump, but ultimately, we should be bad enough or we have our own draft pick. Now, LeBron James' first season in Miami, MVP, Boogie Cousins. I'm just going to start skipping this section, I think. It is quite literally always identical. We are obviously not going to be in the playoffs with 20 wins, which is really good news for me because I want my pick. We are at the bottom of the West. Holy shit, the Wizards and the Raptors won less games. There's 13 and 69. God damn. All right, let's talk about the stats here real quick. Kevin Love did... Oh, no, he did not. Michael Beasley led us in scoring. Excuse me. Kevin Love, though, was still really good for us. Again, you'd like to get that field goal percentage up a bit, but not terribly worried about it. He's 22. Luke Ridnour, Corey Brewer, Darko Milicic, Michael Petrus, Brad Miller, Dooling, Green, and then Tolliver. Led in the rebounding department by Love. Led in assists by Luke Ridnour. All right, let's sim through year 1 of the playoffs. Is this going to be our only year not in the playoffs? I quite honestly have no idea. And what on God's green earth? All right, shout out LaMarcus Aldridge, who never won a championship. I'm like 99% positive on that. They beat the Bulls in 7 games. All right, it is off-season number 1 for us. I am assuming that I know. I am not going to see Brad Miller's name here unless I just totally missed him. Wait, is he right here? No, that's Bruce Ferguson. All right, Brad Miller did not retire, so he can either be a trade piece for us. Maybe he's back in the rotation next year. I have no idea. Historic changes, nothing there for us. This is a pretty big moment, obviously. We are projected the 3rd overall pick. Then we have a pick from Utah. And then we have a pick from Memphis. All right, I'm not exactly sure what trades those date back to. We end up with the 5th overall pick. The Jazz do have their own pick. It's at number 2, so that's okay. And then the Grizzlies have their own pick at 14. So we are picking number 5 overall. So we have the 3rd worst record in the league, get the 5th overall pick. Not exactly my favorite thing. We are in need of a new head coach, and I am going to go out and find one. Could get Stauffer. I've been getting him a decent amount, though. I'd like to get somebody else. I don't think Popovich thinks there's any chance he's coming here. Mike Budenholzer's here. I'm assuming this is going to get blocked because for God knows what reason, assistant coaches, whenever you offer them contracts, they always get blocked by the team they're, currently an assistant coach for, which is so stupid. And I need 2K to fix it because that's just not a thing. It feels like every single time, some assistant coach gets a contract offer, they leave, and there's really never any bad blood about it. Mike D'Antoni's sitting here. Those ratings don't get me super excited. I mean, quite frankly, none of these ratings really get me super excited. Okay. Oh, brother. Yeah, these are just not great. Yeah, none of these really get me, feeling any sort of way. So I guess I'll offer Stauffer again. I'm trying to get somebody else, but I'm not going to intentionally sign a coach with shitty ratings. And then, yeah, they blocked Budenholzer. Eat a fucking dick. I mean, it's such a stupid thing. Like, why even put him in there if it's going to get blocked every single time? Like, you understand what I'm saying? If Mike Budenholzer's an assistant for the Spurs or whoever it was, why do I have the option of actually offering him a coaching contract if there's no fucking chance I can sign him? God, 2K pisses me off most days. All right, it is the 5th overall pick in the draft. We do have some options here. There are certainly some players we could move. Whether or not I look to move up, that is certainly still up in the air. The 2011 draft is obviously a really, really good one, and I certainly would not mind getting one of these star players here. So let's see what we're going to do. Okay, pulled off a trade here with the Philadelphia 76ers, moved up a couple spots. Now, my original intention was to move up with the Utah Jazz to the number 2 overall selection. The reasoning for that is pretty obvious. It would have guaranteed me one of Kawhi Leonard or Kyrie Irving. Now, that is still kind of my hope. I am hoping that one of the teams, whether it is the Jazz or was it the Wizards, who had number 1 overall, are somehow able to screw up and not draft one of those 2 players. Not saying there's not great players outside of those 2, but I think those are kind of the 2 obvious ones that make the most sense for us. So that's the trade. I gave up a bunch of pieces that were never really going to be here long term, and it was only 1 first-round pick, which was the 5th overall pick this year, which I think is pretty good. So please, somebody screw this up. Toronto, if they had the number 1 pick, I thought they were actually pretty good. And okay, Klay Thompson's going to the Jazz, which means I have Kyrie Irving, which is fine. I probably I would have likely preferred Kawhi, but I'm certainly not going to get upset about having Kyrie Irving here. So welcome to the team, Kyrie. Whether this means Luke Ridnour is now on his way out, it is entirely a possibility. Love Beasley obviously coming back, and then Michael Petras picks up his player option. So Corey Brewer will get a qualifying offer for just a hair under $5 million, and then we have no bird rights on anybody. There are a couple nice free agents here, but honestly, I don't really know if I'm going to be signing any of them. I genuinely do not. Now, something I do want to check is the protections on the pick this year. I don't know what it is exactly. 2K is going to say it's unprotected. Whether or not that was actually the case in real life, I have no idea. I will go do a little bit of research and see if there were any protections. If there are, I'm certainly going to take it back. I'm sure you're all aware, but I always give the picks up when I'm not supposed to have them. I'm sure as shit going to take them back when I am. So we have some trades to work on first, though. It's relatively obvious to me that we have a couple pretty big needs on this team, and we're going to make a trade here with the Los Angeles Clippers and address a few of those. Now, Luke Ridnour is a fine player and certainly, could have been a nice rotation piece moving into year number 2, but ultimately, I have Kyrie Irving, and if I can acquire 2 starters here with DeAndre Jordan, Baron Davis, I think this deal is well worth it for us. So, DJ, Baron, welcome to the team. At this point, I'm likely going to play Kyrie at the 2-guard spot entering his first season. Does Baron Davis go down? Actually, Baron Davis stays the same. He's also 1 inch taller, so yeah, we'll keep Kyrie at the 1, and then Davis will run the 2-guard spot for us. So again, that's probably just more of a plug and play for a year, but we did give up 1 first-round pick, and we got 2 starters out of it, so I'm pretty comfortable with it. So at this point, it's about solidifying this rotation. We still have a few players here that are, not real guys, so if anybody wants to be an absolute idiot and give me any sort of real draft pick, I'd certainly go ahead and take you up on it. How about if I include these 2? No, nothing? All right. Thank you very much, Charlotte, and then let's go ahead and move on from whatever the hell Jim Terry is. Oh my God, thank you very much, Chicago. Not a super valuable draft pick, but a first-round draft pick nonetheless. All right, at this point, I'm going to bring back Corey Brewer. I will likely play him at the backup small forward spot behind Michael Beasley. Now, something else to consider is that Michael Beasley is going to be a free agent after this season. Of course, we are going to have a free agent here with Kevin Love as well. So, a little bit nervous about the possibility of that again, especially because I'm likely going to be looking to sign another major free agent come next offseason. But I don't want to get too ahead of myself. Of course, we have a solid young squad here, and I do think we can make a little bit of noise. So I'm good at the center spot. Do need to find a backup 4. Of course, we'll re-sign Brewer. He'll be the backup 3, and then a backup point guard as well. So, we have a little bit of money to play with. My one goal right now is not going out and kind of just blowing it on, one major free agent. So a guy like Aaron Brooks wants $2 million. I'm more than willing to give him that. And then it was a backup power forward, I believe, here. Like Jeff Green could make some sense, but he probably wants just a little bit too much money. How about a guy like Carl Landry? That's not the worst thing in the world. So I'd offer both them some deals. I'm not going to renounce Brewer again. Okay. Well, we don't get Aaron Brooks. Okay. How much does TJ Ford want? He wants a little bit more. Again, not my favorite thing in the world, but I'll live. All right, Landry and Ford are both welcome to the team. Not going to renounce Brewer. We will match whatever Corey Brewer gets, and I'll just see you guys at the start of year 2. It is the second season here in Minnesota. We had a pretty busy offseason, made a decent amount of moves, and ultimately I think things are looking up for this squad here. Now, are we going to win a championship? I'd say 99% chance no, but I do think this team has a really good blueprint in place to hopefully be a very, very competitive team come year 3. Now, it is Kyrie Irving, Baron Davis, Michael Beasley, Kevin Love, DeAndre Jordan. Bench will be led by Corey Brewer. I imagine a 2-year contract he was offered from the Denver Nuggets. Behind him is going to be TJ Ford at the backup point guard spot. Of course, signed Danny Green, Carl Landry, and then finally the GOAT, Darko Milicic. All right, man, I'll see you guys at the end of year number 2. Oh, by the way, while this is simulating, I'm going to do a little bit of research and see if there were any protections on the draft pick that is now owned by the Clippers. So unprotected, supposedly. So see you guys at the end of year 2. Year 2 has officially come to an end. We finished with a record of 48-34. Pretty damn good season. Of course, we are likely going to be in the playoffs. I am hoping this team can maybe win a round. That would be a really, really nice kind of first playoff run for this group, but who knows? First and foremost, I also want to read you something here. I'm reading you something that I just found off the internet. Again, there's certainly a possibility this could be wrong, but given our record, I'm not as worried about it. So at one point, it does seem that the Timberwolves had a 2012 draft pick. It was their own pick, according to the internet. It was the 18th overall selection, in which they sent to the Houston Rockets in exchange for swingman Chase Budinger. Hell of a trade, Minnesota. So it looks like they did have their first round pick. I don't know if there were protections on it or if the deal was extinguished after a certain amount of time, whatever the situation was. I'm not going to really worry about it here. It wasn't going to be a super high pick. And again, it is what it is at this point. Russell Westbrook, your MVP. Kawhi Leonard, of course, went number 1 overall to Toronto. He's your rookie of the year. Goran Dragic coming off the bench in Phoenix is your 6th man. Andrew Bogut wins Depoy. Paul George, most improved. And Scott Brooks, coach of the Oklahoma City Thunder, is your coach of the year. So we're the 5 seed. You can see it right there. Let's take a full look at the standings here real quick. We, of course, will have the Portland Trail Blazers in round 1. We're only 1 game behind them. And then we take a look here at the Eastern Conference. Let's talk about some of the numbers here real quick for this squad. Kyrie Irving as a rookie, leading this team in scoring. Kevin Love, still our second option, about 18 points, 15 boards. Just a beautiful season out of him. Michael Beasley, Baron Davis, Corey Brewer, DeAndre Jordan, Landry, Green, Ford, and then Milicic. Rebounds, going to be Kevin Love. Assists, going to be Baron Davis. All right, so we are taking on Portland here, who won a championship last season. How? I have really no idea, but they're a solid squad. I just didn't think they were, championship caliber. Dropped the first 2 in Game 3, and we do win Game 4, and we do win Game 5, and we get bounced in 6. All right, ultimately, not a super shocking ending. I don't love it, but kind of just is what it is. Yeah, I mean, kind of what I expected. You take a look at the numbers here. DJ's just never really going to score at an elite level. Baron Davis, all right. You live and you learn. This is obviously the final offseason. It's a make-or-break offseason for us. Thunder do win it all. Russell Westbrook also wins Finals MVP. We are at the point of this video where I do think we have to be very careful with the moves that we make, just given that I am in the position where I want to sign a major free agent. We also have a few big free agents of our own. So let's send through the draft lottery. That Utah is shit. That's something I did not check, is what the protections were on the Utah pick. Now, I am just going to look at the 2012 draft and just see Utah. I'm not seeing a first-round pick here for the Jazz. Oh, joy. All right, well, I'm definitely going to have to research that one a little bit more as well. It's projected to be number 3 right now. Again, it's the same situation. We have the 2nd overall pick. Good God. I'm not going to take a pick that I'm not supposed to have. Of course, I'll take back picks that I am, but I'm not going to take selections that I'm supposed to have. So I will do my absolute best to ensure whether or not I'm supposed to have that draft pick, and then we will kind of just go from there. But we're at the draft. Let me do that real quick. All right, I'm pretty sure I'm supposed to have this pick. I'm going to read you something from a Bleacher Report article for God knows what reason was written in 2018, but let me just explain this to you. It's going to be, just hang with me for a minute. A quick flip of a coin effectively dashed the Utah Jazz's hopes of nabbing a first-round draft pick in the upcoming 2012 NBA draft. The Jazz own the rights to the Warriors' first-round pick, with the caveat that the Warriors retain the pick if it falls within the top 7. The Warriors finished tied with the Toronto Raptors for the 7th worst record in the NBA, which necessitated a coin flip to decide who was scheduled to pick 7th and who was scheduled to pick 8th. The flip went the Warriors' way, and the Jazz front office went from scouting top-notch college prospects to disappointingly pursuing a scant free agent pool. Utah's own first-round pick now goes to the Timberwolves as part of the Jefferson trade. Ironically, Utah would have held on to its own pick had they tanked like Golden State did. Oh, shit. Is it top 10 protected? Or top 8? I'm trying to figure this shit out because 2K does not, so I now have the responsibility. What is this shit going on here? I'll be back. All right, I think I've sorted this out. Again, my apologies. I've now read 4 articles. I've spent about 8 minutes trying to decipher this. I'm reading an article from NBA.com in 2010, after the Al Jefferson trade was done. The Utah Jazz announced today the team has acquired center/forward Al Jefferson from the Minnesota Timberwolves in exchange for center Kosta Koufos, the Memphis Grizzlies' protected 2011 first-round pick. Of course, it went back to Memphis last year, and now we have the pick. You can see it sitting there at number 20 from Memphis, and an additional future protected first-round pick. I'm assuming that's this pick here in 2012, and it says it's protected. I'm assuming it means it's top 10 lottery, whatever, protected. So I don't think we get the second overall pick, is what I'm trying to say. I understand most of you are probably just saying, get on with it. You don't really give a shit, but I don't like having trade assets in these videos that I'm not supposed to have. So I'm going to send this pick back to the Utah Jazz. Again, I could be wrong, but I have spent way too long reading articles from 2010, and at this point, I just really don't give a shit. So we are going to send that pick back to Utah. Again, if I'm wrong and somebody spends the time going to sort that out, that I very well may be wrong, please let me know. But we do have the 20th overall pick. I will select somebody there. Whether or not they are an impact player for us is TBD, but Festus Ezeli appears to be the only real player here, so welcome to the team. Yeah, it would have been nice. We, of course, could have, probably not had Anthony Davis, but maybe could have drafted Beal, Lillard, Drummond, somebody like that. It is what it is. All right, team player options. We got nothing here. Qualifying Danny Green, I will extend him one, and of course Kevin Love and Michael Beasley as well. So, this is a pretty loaded free agency class. I'm certainly interested in getting, somebody here. Who that is, I have no idea. Derrick Rose is restricted. That's not going to happen. Russell Westbrook's restricted. Not going to happen. Unfortunately, there is a bit of a fall off, and I'm not going to throw money at 38-year-old Steve Nash. I think ultimately at this point, my biggest goal should be to sign somebody like Chris Paul, who has one offer right now. It's not even real, and it's from the Miami Heat. I could also throw a little bit of money at Dwight Howard, but he has 21 offers, including a really big one here from the Cleveland Cavaliers. So, I'll throw some actually, wow, Jesus Christ, I am really in salary cap hell here. It's Baron Davis's contract. That's what it really comes down to. So I'll move Baron Davis, which I was pretty much always going to do. I'd like to get a player in return for this and just kind of hope. Actually, you know what? I'm not really worried about it. I'm going to take the draft picks here from Utah. Again, I understand it's kind of funny and ironic at this point, but if not, I'm not worried about this. Let me throw some money at Dwight Howard. I don't know if he's going to accept this. If he does, we'll obviously sort out what we're going to do with DeAndre Jordan. And then I'll also throw some money here at Chris Paul. I need one of these guys to sign with me. Okay, we get Dwight Howard. At this point, I need to find a way to not renounce Kevin Love. He is obviously priority number one. Michael Beasley, unfortunately, is probably going to have to leave. I just don't see a way where we can clear up $18 million at this point. So, Darko, good fucking riddance, buddy. I'm more than okay moving on from Darko Milicic here. So, sending him to Philadelphia. Now, I, hypothetically speaking, do not have to renounce Kevin Love or Danny Green. So, Beasley is here. He's going to be gone. He was really good for us. Ultimately, that overall never jumped up a bunch, but he was very consistent in the numbers he put up. But adding Dwight Howard to this team is a true game-changing piece, and I'm really excited to have him here. So we're going to wait on Kevin Love. Obviously, we're going to wait on Danny Green as well. Dwight Howard will be brought in. We're going to pass on Chris Paul just because we're kind of good at the point guard spot with Kyrie. And again, I'm sure we could have figured out a CP3 Kyrie backcourt, but I'll take Dwight. Now it is making sure that, Kevin, we don't have bird rights on Kevin Love. Are you fucking kidding me? God, this game's so fucking stupid. They literally drafted him 5th overall in 2008. Right? I'm not making that up. I mean, just give me a fucking chance here. Do not accept. Do not renounce. We're going to wait on one more day. Obviously, sign Dwight Howard. God, this game's so broken. We're going to do this one more time here. And then again, Love's restricted. It'll let me match whatever, it is at this point. So we are going to not sign Kevin Love. We are not going to renounce him. We are going to sign Dwight Howard. Everybody else is good to go. God, I feel like it's just unbelievable at this point. Kevin Love's going to go to the Sixers. We, of course, will match that. We're going to do the same thing with Danny Green at some point. And at this point, we desperately need to figure out my starting shooting guard because I have nobody. Swinging a deal here with the Golden State Warriors. We're going to be adding Monta Ellis. I understand he's a guy I trade for a decent amount of the time, but ultimately I'm in a pretty restrictive financial situation. And again, not giving up a single draft pick. Adding Monta Ellis feels like a really big win for us. So that's cool. That's all, high, well, mighty. At this point, the small forward spot's still relatively open. Now, I wouldn't be completely against the idea of having Corey Brewer start for our final season, but this is a championship or bust year. I'd like to make as many upgrades as possible. So we're really, really limited with the moves that we will be able to make at this point. The good news is I have some pretty significant draft capital. So I think there's one other trade for a starter that we do need to make. I'm offering TJ Ford, Joel Anthony, and about every first-round draft pick I have. Oh, okay. That was easier than I thought it was. All right, starting five is complete. We have solidified this starting five while keeping a couple key bench pieces intact. Of course, we're also going to match anything Danny Green gets, so we do need to find a backup point guard and backup center. But I think we've done a pretty good job of kind of sorting this thing out. Nate Robinson could be fun. And then the center spot here, options are not great. How about a guy like Jan Mahimi? I wouldn't mind throwing a little money at him. Bringing Jan Mahimi on a 2-year deal? Cool, welcome to the squad. And then Nate Robinson could also be kind of fun. Oh, did I renounce Danny Green? No, I did not, thank God. All right, we will be waiting for Danny Green, or the game's just going to let me pay him. Thank you very much, 2K. All right, this is going to be the final roster as we enter year number 3. Of course, we're going to see some nice development, especially out of a guy like Kyrie Irving. I expect Kevin Love's overall to go up a few more as well. And ultimately, obviously, it's the best team we've had so far. Hopefully, it is enough for a championship. See you guys at the start of year 3. I need this to be the team that gets it done. The talent is obviously evident. I think we did a really good job of keeping the depth we had in place and obviously adding some star power as well. So it is now or never. Kyrie Irving, Monta Ellis, Gerald Wallace, Kevin Love, and Dwight Howard. Ben's unit, Corey Brewer's taking over as sixth man. Of course, brought back Danny Green, brought in Jan Mahimi, Carl Landry remains, and then finally Nate Robinson. So this is the squad. Once again, it is now or never. Hoping we can finally not only win a championship, but a goddamn playoff series. I'll see you guys at the end of year 3. I knew there was a strong possibility we had a really good final season. I guess I just didn't really anticipate one that was this good because it was historically good. Historically great, even. The best ever. 76-6. It's not anything we haven't seen before. I just didn't think this was one of the squads that gets to 76 wins, but certainly we'll take it. Russell Westbrook, coming off a finals MVP and a regular season MVP just a season ago, gets another regular season MVP. Anthony Davis goes to Toronto. We were pretty damn close to having Anthony Davis. Mo Williams coming off the bench in Cleveland, really strong sixth man there. Tyrus Thomas wins Depoy. Okay. Nikola Vucevic wins most improved and Mike Stouffer coach of the year. So again, wasn't expecting 76 wins with this team, but we are obviously really, really damn good in a really elite conference. So obviously had the best record in basketball, and hopefully it is the time where everything can come together. Dwight Howard only 13 points a game, man. All right, buddy. Not saying Dwight Howard needed to put up, 25 a game, given the talent this team does have. I just thought he'd be, something like that. We can just not avoid the Portland Trailblazers, can we? They do have a 68 overall Dino Rancic as their starting point guard, but other than that, they do have a lot of talent there. So, it's not my favorite first-round matchup. I do think we are the better team, and hopefully we go out and prove that, end this thing pretty easily. And you can already see our second-round opponent here in the Oklahoma City Thunder, who there's no ifs, ands, or buts. This absolutely sucks. I mean, why can't you give me the fucking Sacramento Kings? All right, this would be an unbelievable victory for us. I mean, you win 76 games, you really shouldn't be nervous about anybody, but I know how good this Thunder... Okay, we get it done in 5. Now it is time for the Sacramento Kings. Hopefully I did not bite off more than I can chew, because of course you have seen this Kings team beat one of my squads recently, and I was not very happy about it. So I'd like to get a little revenge. We're up 3-0. Oh boy. On to the NBA Finals, and I'm expecting, oh my God, if this isn't just the goddamn funniest signing at the point guard spot ever. And I have a quick question for Jeffrey Dunleavy over here. First of all, you're not a real person. I know that for a fact. Second of all, what is that haircut? What in the name? Well, I guess it is 2012 at this point. I was going to say what in the name of 2011 is going on there, but yeah, I guess it makes some sense. Let's get to this. Let's win a championship. We're up 2-0, up 3-0, and we are in Miami looking to sweep them out of their own building, and we are just running them off the floor at this point. Just an unbelievably dominant game from us start to finish. We're at the end of the goddamn third quarter. They've scored 49 points. Just unbelievable. Just an ass kicking for the ages. I'll see you guys in there. For the first time in what feels like over a week, we have gameplay here that I don't really have to stress about. I typically am in these situations. It's a super close contested ball game, and I have to kind of worry about pretty much anything that can go wrong. That felt like a 5-second violation to me. We can chat, I guess, a little bit about, this Timberwolves squad. Of course, they, decided to make the decision to get Andrew Wiggins in the deal for Kevin Love. Obviously, in hindsight, that worked out a whole lot better for Cleveland than it did Minnesota. But, this is a team and a franchise that's obviously still looking to get that championship. And, the Timberwolves have had some really, really talented players. And who the fuck is this on Dwight Howard? Some really, really talented players in the history of their franchise. I mean, you think about the Kevin Garnett years. Obviously, Kevin Garnett did not like ownership in Minnesota, and it does look like with the new ownership group with Alex Rodriguez and Mark Lowry that they are going to finally retire his jersey, which has just taken way, way too long. But, you know, this is a team that has had a lot of good players. They truly have. And it's just all about kind of coming together and figuring it out at once. So, you know, I am going to take a guess, and it's probably a pretty safe estimation, but I do think eventually Anthony Edwards finds a way to bring this team a championship. I think he is obviously talented enough, and it is a damn shame that the Kevin Love era in Minnesota really did not, you know, last longer, because Kevin Love was so dominant when he was a Timberwolf, and not saying he was some sort of bum when he was in Cleveland, but obviously he was just playing a different role. He was a third option versus being a pretty obvious first option for his time in Minnesota. So, you know, it'll be interesting to see what ends up happening, you know, moving forward with this Timberwolves franchise in real life. I think the new ownership group is going to do a lot of things well. I think they're, you know, present owner, or the guy who did own the team, that whole group was not necessarily great. I don't think that's a big shocker to anybody, but glad that they're finally getting somebody competent in the building. So we're going to be winning a championship here. I will just see you guys with the Finals MVP. What a way to cap off our final season here in Minnesota. We get that championship, and Kevin Love gets a very deserved Finals MVP. Holy shit, look at those shooting splits. All right, man, that's going to do it for this one. I had a lot of fun with this rebuild. Again, we had to stay patient. That was, you know, kind of my game plan heading into this one. I didn't really know, you know, who I was going to sign, who I was going to trade for, nothing like that. But I did have kind of an idea. We stuck to it, and obviously it worked out pretty damn well. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Of course, let me know which team you want me to do next down below in the comment section. Eventually, we will get to all 30 of them. So if you guys have a very, you know, big need for one of these teams to come up soon, let me hear it down below. But that'll do it for me. As always, thanks so much for watching. I love you guys. I'll catch you guys all in the next one.